Monza is the temple of speed in Italy, and welcome to today's service. Great to have you with us on HJBC for Spec-5 World Tour with just a couple of races left in the championship. The action is hot, the racing is hot, and this is the slipstream capital of road course racing. It's a beautiful day with just a little bit of wind, and we have 45 minutes of racing at Italy's most famous racetrack ahead of us. David Haynes with Reese Gardner and Michael Derby on HJBC as we bring you live coverage this week. Reese Gardner, you've got a Monza fun fact for us.
Yes, I do. The circuit, originally built in 1921, had quite a few layouts that it could use back then, and one of them included tire chicanes at the same rough locations as the 3 chicanes that are currently present on the circuit. So for those of you whinging and whining about Monza having chicanes added, they did it in the 1930s. Shut your face.
Fascinating. 15 minutes of qualifying. Critically for Monza is solo qualifying. There will be no giving your teammate a slipstream today. It's all about just the drivers solo versus the track, which will set the grid, because the race will have plenty of bump drafting, slipstreaming games, you would imagine. So they've got to negotiate the large outlap here, almost 6 kilometers, 4 miles of racetrack in these Mazda MX-5s, and so much of it is at full throttle. It creates a massive pace differential between cars like these to GT3 cars, Formula One cars, other machines with a little bit more horsepower.
Yes, you trim out the downforce on a Formula One car here at Monza, you can reach speeds exceeding 350 kilometers per hour. Well, these cars don't have wings or any downforce generating devices at all. Unfortunately, they don't quite have the power to really make use of that low drag, but they still provide fantastic racing, and I think the fact that they are so slow down these straights adds to that. We've seen lap times in practice around the 2-minute 13 area, and I'm sure we will be able to see times here in qualifying maybe get around the 2-minute 14s, 2-minute 15s or so. It'll be interesting to see how these cars perform in no slipstream.
So we're watching Jared Collins prepare his tyres. A little bit of overcast conditions. Track still relatively cool. Will be a positive for these 4 flying laps of qualifying. Try to keep your tyres underneath you best you can. Jared Collins will be one of the first to come around to start a flying lap. By the time you're halfway around the parabolica, you're already full throttle, so you really wind up like a baseball pitch coming out onto the front straight here, crossing the timing line just back there. Your time begins, and you have a long full throttle blast down towards picking your braking zone for the turn 1 chicane from 6th gear all the way down to 1st in these MX-5 Cup cars that got sequential transmissions a couple of seasons ago. Track limits you do need to pay some attention to through these chicanes. The first one, like that, Jared Collins has done just perfectly. The second chicane, though, it's a little bit more open. You're a little more tempted to try to jump those curbs, and that's where race control can get you in trouble.
Indeed, the Variante della Roggia here at the second chicane. A little bit of an altered route from previous decades and generations, all over the curbs there, and it looks like that is valid there for Jared Collins. You can push harder over those curbs than you think, but the margin for getting that slowdown and off track is incredibly narrow. Basically, as long as you have 2 tires on the curb and none in the grass, then you're good.
So Jared Collins is halfway around this lap. So too is Brandon Hawken and Jason Stalker. They're ahead of everyone else by just a little bit. Oh, how level do you want Brandon Hawken to be there? Okay, that was like costume change at speed, a little hop of a couple of the anti-cut curves from Brandon Hawken through the Ascari chicane. Normally you see people hit that third apex a little more than the ones in the middle. I was surprised to see Brandon Hawken grab that much of it, especially this early in the run.
Yeah, indeed. Ascari is a corner where, you can really use those curves to great advantage, and it would appear that the speed bump at the apex can be absorbed very nicely by these MX-5s. I'm sure we'll see them all over that curve here at the end of the session. So first times on the board, Brandon Hawken with a 213.4 and Jared Collins with a 214.2. Looks like that's the best that we can manage in a straight line on our own. Sean Hayes putting it in P5. Jason Stalker taking the provisional open class pole with a 214.1, and he's going to be shadowed very closely by his competitors as they continue to trickle in.
Spec5.HJBC.live has your live timing for all of our broadcasts of the Spec-5 World Tour. 90 minutes of the bend next week for a championship finale. Be very, very interesting as well. Is Jason Stalker going to look to improve on this second lap? And just going to get to the first timing intermediate here underneath that bridge. The answer for him is yes. For Brandon Hawken, it's no. So he's either had a mistake or backed off, but Stalker still trying to improve. Jared Collins still improving. A lot of other drivers have come on to their second lap past the end of the first sector and continued to improve. Through the double right-handers of the fast Lesmo corners we go. Just a tiny bit of camber to be had at the second Lesmo, vaguely reminiscent of Tower Turn at Sebring.
Yeah, it's a difficult corner to get right. You don't pick your turn in properly, then it's a 50-50 chance you're either cutting the inside curb or you're running wide on the exit, neither of which is good for lap time. So Stalker was a bit conservative out of Lesmo 2. Let's see if that approach works out for him. One thing that I'm noticing about Monza in particular, these cars demonstrate it particularly well, but you see it in almost everything that drives here, is getting the geometric fastest line out of a corner and sticking to the inside on an exit to basically shorten the distance around a turn. You'll see it happen sometimes here at Parabolica, and you'll also see it at Curva Grande as well, the turn after the first chicane. Stalker right there sticking as far to the right as he can to shorten the run to the start-finish line, and that's not going to result in an improvement for him. But Monza, you can certainly make big improvements by just shortening your line around a corner rather than taking the geometric arc for maximum speed.
I think Stalker had a bit of a slide with the rear of the car turning into Michele Alboreto Parabolica. I've been on this soapbox before. They shouldn't have renamed it from Parabolica to Michele Alboreto Curve. They should have called it the Michele Alboreto Parabolica.
Agreed.
That's a 10-foot tall soapbox that I'm now struggling to come down from, but a bunch of improved times are coming through. Rory Coimbra had a really strong one. Lincoln Fox has just gone to second. Brandon Hawken obviously backed off on the lap that he's just completed and is now attempting another hot one. Sean Evans, if you will. A couple of purple sectors came in for Lincoln Fox. Rory Coimbra had one as well. So purple sectors not being the domain of just one driver across these laps so far.
Peter Rousakis making a improvement further into the top 10, up to 7th. Eugenio Pollicci up to 3rd, and this is his home race, literally his home race. He walks his dog in the park surrounding this racetrack in the real world, so he's very familiar with every millimeter of this circuit, but doesn't stop him from going a little bit wide out of the first chicane there.
Including that millimeter?
Yeah, Potentially. Maybe he was just trying to refamiliarize himself with it. Polici was also third in practice, worth pointing out. So this is looking like a strong round for him.
He's just a little offset on the program to some others. Brandon Hawkins about to complete his third flying lap, and it just falls a couple tenths short of improvement. So first lap was his best, and then he either had a mistake or backed off on the second one. He's gone full beans on the third one and hasn't found the same lap time again. Rui Coimbra, that's the opposite of your lines you were talking about earlier. That lap for him falling about half a second short.
Strong qualifying performance from Coimbra. P4 for the moment, and Odyssey Adams, teammate at Not a Team, is going to put his first time on the board and move up to 14th place. So leaving it a bit late in the session to get the run started, but we'll see what Adams will be able to do further from there. Lincoln Fox, meanwhile, looking to overtake Brandon Hawken for provisional pole, but it's not going to work that time. It is an improvement, but it doesn't grant him any extra positions. Michael Coates, meanwhile, slots himself into P4. Rui Coimbra back down to rounding out your top 5. And let's see what Geordie Fike can do here. Fike with some good performances in practice. 16th for the moment in qualifying. A 214.8, can only manage a mid 214, as can pretty much everyone from 13th down to 17th.
Yeah, despite the size of the lap, there's not that many corners to separate the quicker drivers. So on the stopwatch, it's actually very close times. Only 0.8 of a second that Brandon Hawken has pole by. Your top 3 drivers within 1/10 of a second, and then Michael Coates, Rui Coimbra, Jared Collins, all super close. Lincoln Fox, I think, may have been off the road. Brandon Hawkins setting a couple of purple sectors on his final lap in qualifying, and he's not far away from coming to the checkered flag here either. So can he move the needle on a 213.473? The sectors would suggest it's possible that we might just shave the pole time down a little bit.
Oh, it didn't count. No time. So evidently he got an off track somewhere, I think at Ascari, potentially.
I believe second chicane. I think.
Yes. Okay, I'm just rewinding on my end to confirm. Line through the second chicane looks okay. Might have taken a bit too much out of the first apex. I think what really lost it for him was running wide out of Lesmo 2. He actually ran beyond the curb there, and you got to keep 2 tires on those curbs to keep it legal.
Razorkas is at the top of the open class at the moment, but it's close between him and Jason Stalker, whose qualifying's done. Paul Murgatroyd's also off the track. Lee Martin's going to come around to complete his final lap of qualifying. So a few things could definitely change in that open class.
Yeah, Razorkas here making his way to his final time of the session with 2.5 minutes or more or less still remaining on the clock. And at the moment, Razorkas has the open class pole position, and he's held onto it very nicely. He's got 3 pro cars separating himself from Lee Martin there, but he's decided to practice pit entry. Of course, David, they will have to make their way into the pits at least once over the course of this 45 minutes. And considering the nature of the track, the slipstream, and how much fuel you can save in the slipstream, I think we might end up seeing some pretty wild strategies here today.
Oh, yeah. It will be. No one's going to want to be Mother Duck today. We've seen, similar strategies play out at other high-speed slipstreaming racetracks, Phillip Island, Road America, etc. But this is all of that turned up to another level with the amount of time the slipstream can give you, with how much fuel saving is possible at an otherwise high fuel consumption racetrack. Certainly the ability for large trains to form is high, but so too the ability of a catastrophic multiple car crash.
Yes, fortunately we do have live race control in this series now, starting this season, and potentially full course yellow will be called to bring everyone back together if such a crash happens. Isolated incidents, meanwhile, will likely result in the train being broken up, and then it sort of becomes a NASCAR super speedway style race where you got to try and work together in your pack to catch up to the pack ahead, and whoever has the better advantage will prevail. A lot of pit entry practice going on at the moment. It's important to get that right. As long as you get into the pits quickly and cleanly without getting a black flag, you will have a good time in the pit lane. But braking from such high speeds is always a slight recipe for chaos.
That's qualifying done and locked in. And the winner from last week at Sonoma, Brandon Hawken, a late addition to this season of the Spec-5 World Tour, is now on pole. Lincoln Fox in second, from the hometown boy Eugenio Polici in third. Michael Coates is in fourth, Rui Coimbra in fifth, Jared Collins in sixth, and there's Donnie Moffat in seventh. Peter Resorkis is our open class pole sitter in eighth, with a good qualifying there to be inside of the top 10, a feat that no open class driver could manage at Sonoma. Jason Stalker also does similarly to be just behind him in ninth. Mike Oswalt has qualified 10th in his incredibly purple machine.
And Mitchell Peak will start in 11th place alongside Odyssey Adams Jr. Sean Hayes and Lee Martin will share the 7th row of the grid. Paul Murgatroyd and David Starb 15th and 16th, with Todd Martin and Geordie Fike rounding out with Tom Athon and Mark Kruger, a midfield that is pretty assorted, pro and open class drivers everywhere as far as the eye can see.
And then Ryan Pandisio in 21st, Charles Vaccaro in 22nd. Kyle Genske is the last driver to set a qualifying time in 23rd. And Nicholas Shepard, Glenn Blanchard, and Jake DeGrand. I thought DeGrand got out on track in qualifying, but maybe didn't set a time. And then yesterday he was telling me that the throttle out of the very tight first chicane is challenging for him with his controls.
All right, well, we shall see. The field make their way round shortly to begin a full formation lap around Monza. They are starting on the run up to Ascari chicane on this dummy grid, but they will do a full lap under pace car conditions before the green flag officially flies. So we have got plenty of time here to watch and dissect as they tour at slow speed around one of the fastest circuits on the planet.
And here's my Monza fun fact. This is one of the circuits where when the lights are on the pace car, the lights are on all of the emergency vehicles. You can see it for the ambulance there. Same thing happens at Sebring with the fire truck. But iRacing cautions is just not something we see much on road courses, for you to realize that that's a thing that happens, because it'll never happen in officials, it'll never happen in special events, it'll only ever happen in hosted and league races. Let's look at the championship standings with just 2 rounds to go. We've already baked in most of our drop rounds, and Michael Folds leads the Pro Championship on 612 points, but Lincoln Fox will start from second on the grid today with 598 points. It's a great opportunity for Lincoln. Michael Coates is third in the points and Eugenio Polici in fourth. He's super close with Donnie Moffat as well. Oh, there's another ambulance with some weird flashing lights going on. Michael Chase in 6th, Kyle Genske in 7th, Odyssey Adams in 8th, Mike Oswald in 9th, and Rui Coimbra in 10th. Yes, this is something that so rarely happens that that is a bug that has been on that ambulance for like 5 years.
Almost looks like a debris flag texture there. The open points, meanwhile, 2 drop rounds counted. Todd Martin a long way ahead of Paul Murgatroyd, and with just another round left to go here, that's going to be very difficult to make that gap up. Lee Martin, though, only 2 points behind Murgatroyd, so second is still very much up for grabs. You can throw Jason Stalker in there as well. Equal on points, Mark Kruger and Peter Rosakis for P5. Travis Hewitt 30 points behind them. Jerry DePiero, our early runaway leader of the Open Class Championship, unfortunately falling by the wayside in the last few rounds, still sits 8th with DeGrand and Brocklesby rounding things out there.
There's a 3rd championship in Spec-5 World Tour, and it's who shows up to every race and gets the fewest incident points. And well, we had a couple of drivers on 0 initially, but the ferocity of the racing gets to everyone in time. Lee Martin on 4, Todd Martin on 6, Lincoln Fox there on 9, Michael Folds on 10, and then Mike Oswald, Peter Rosakis, Eugenio Pollicci, Geordie Fike, Rui Coimbra, and Michael Coates.
So that's going to round things out for our 3 sort of sub-championships in this series. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the standings are going to shake out after this round, because this is really crunch time. We have the 90-minute Enduro at the Bend next week to round things off, and I've got to say, when you're fighting as closely as these guys are for a championship lead right at the end, it's often the penultimate round where things can come to a head, and what a place to do it.
Yes, 90 minutes of the Bend International, which is the version that supercars race on. The longest long version, I believe, is called GT. 90 minutes of MX-5s on that layout might be at least 5 laps.
Yes, I would wager even at least 6. Maybe we should put a bet on.
7.7 kilometers, and I believe it's almost just out of pure vanity to have the longest permanent road course basically anywhere in the world.
That isn't the Nürburgring.
Yeah. Which again, some might argue isn't a permanent course. But it's in that grey zone.
Certainly is. Well, the long run down the straight towards Parabolica. This is where we're going to be seeing plenty of passes, I'm sure, over the course of the race. For now, though, they tour at about 100 k's an hour, regular highway speed here in Australia. And they'll find their way through to the green flag in just a few moments. What can Brandon Hawken do here? He's going to be the one leading the charge and punching the hole in the air for everyone else.
Well, the lights are off the pace car. They're also off all of the ambulances too. Brandon Hawken and Lincoln Fox forming up as our front row of the grid, waiting for the green flag to drop. And then they'll have the full length of the front straight at Monza before they have to slam on the brakes at turn 1. Charles Vaccaro not on the grid here as the green flag waves and we begin to accelerate. Right-hand line already with a tiny bit of a jump. Might see a bit of bump drafting happen even before turn 1 here. Some of them begin to back off. Sean Hayes, one of the first drivers to just lift out of the throttle, give himself a little bit of space, heading into this tight turn 1 chicane. Brandon Hawken sweeps across cleanly into the lead of the race. 2 lanes, 3 lanes. Peter Rosakis gets a little bit of wheel spin on his cold tyres, aggressively trying to open up the throttle at a lot of steering angle, and then to Curva Grande, we sweep through. Around the outside, Michael Coates there tucks in behind Eugenio Pollicci.
Yeah, it's looking like a clean start from everybody who took to the start. Unfortunately, Rui Coimbra and David Starb don't seem to have taken to the grid either, so that's a real shame for the two of them. They will get a bit of a late start there, but single file at the front on the way through the Lesmos, and Brandon Hawken starting to stretch that gap out now to 0.6 of a second, but that's still very much in slipstream range. So everyone aboard the train, choo-choo, leaves the station now.
Yeah, so with no Coimbra on the grid, Donny Moffat got one spot for free. Then I think he's made another two from the inside line going down in towards turn one. So he goes from 7th on the grid up into 4th, directly behind his teammate Eugenio Pollicci. Those two were together in practice yesterday. So you've got the loud cup racing car of Paul Murgatroyd just slicing ahead of Odyssey Adams on the way into Ascari, creating a little bit of a gap between them and the front train of Ducklings. So you might, Tour de France style, start to see some teammates begin to form up here.
Yeah, the teammates of Pollicci and Moffat are certainly doing that. At the front as the move is made by Paul Murgatroyd, side by side with Odyssey Adams. And that's going to be a compromised exit for the both of them. It looks like Todd Martin's going to try and move through to get this done. They're going to be 3 wide across the start-finish line to begin the second lap of the race. And Martin with the most momentum, neither of them really getting much of a slipstream from those ahead. This is what happens when you run side by side, make a move, and it doesn't quite stick. You're going to lose time to everyone ahead. Martin doesn't go for it, but Murgatroyd does.
And they're not being left behind by the top 11 because, well, the height of politeness for the top 3 heading into turn 1. Lincoln Fox lifted out of the throttle. Brandon Hawken lifted out of the throttle. Eugenio Pollicci lifted out of the throttle. And all 3 of them coasted 500 feet into the braking zone of turn 1. And Brandon Hawken remained in the lead. Lincoln Fox, no, after you, sir. Eugenio Pollicci wanting to stay with Donny Moffat in that 3rd and 4th. And it's already getting perhaps just a little silly.
Yes, maybe. But we still have plenty of the race to go. All of this is just a waiting game until the pit cycle, which is what these drivers are really building up to. Again, it's like NASCAR Super Speedway style racing. You save fuel in the draft, you try and stretch it as much as you can, look after your tires, and then hopefully come into the pits with a drafting buddy, or at least try to follow the leader in, or hope that if the leader pits early, then they will lose any advantage in the slipstream, and you can carry that advantage being out on track with everyone else, gain some track position in the meantime. That's roughly how the strategy tends to work at tracks like this, in cars like this.
So after backing off into turn 1, Brandon Hawkins then tried to put the foot down through the rest of the chicanes and through the Lesmos and Ascari and build a little bit of a gap. Got almost 7/10 clear of Lincoln Fox, but now onto the front straight. Expect all of that to disappear. Top 11 here's got 2 open class drivers in it, Jason Stalker and Peter Resorkis. Here we go. Lincoln Fox looks to the inside, but then lifts. And we're just coasting 2 wide down in towards turn 1. Moffat was alongside Coates. There was almost a bit of a contact in the checkup there with Jared Collins and Mitchell Peak.
They work things out though. And now a potential fight into the second chicane here. Mitchell Peak and Jared Collins. But it looks like Peak's going to tuck in behind, stick the nose out once again as they pass under the virtual camera there. Not quite far up enough to make the move. I always love watching these cars go through that second chicane and seeing just how much curb they take. They are full on two-wheeling it in the pursuit of speed.
You could take that much curb in an MX-5 if you were joining the freeway the way people in your area like to.
Yeah, I know from personal experience.
So 11 in this top group, and then from Sean Hayes, there's almost 2.5 seconds to Adams, Murgatroyd, and Martin, who've been fighting again. And it's letting that top 11 begin to get away. The top 11 are being led by Brandon Hawkins' pace, and they're happy to just do the clean air pace of Brandon Hawkins, which is going to be quicker than Adams, Murgatroyd, or Martin, you would think. So it's going to be tough for them to close that down, even with everyone staying in line up front. Next group's got Tom Athon, Lee Martin, Geordie Fike. Mark Kruger was having a little issue or two. He's just on the back of that group, as there are 22 cars running, and Vaccaro is all the way back there by the looks of things. Martin alongside Athon, Genski on the inside of Fike.
Well, that's a bit wide. A little bit of dicing going on here. Tom Athon in the red and white striped car has the slipstream off Lee Martin, but everyone else has their own slipstream. Besides, Geordie Fike will try his best to make the move here into the first chicane. Who wins the battle the last of the late breakers? A big lift from Kyle Genski, and oh goodness, it's always difficult to determine exactly how a pass here is going to work out, but ultimately it is Geordie Fike who ends up ahead of Tom Athon with a bit of Noah's arcing through the first chicane.
Yeah, now through Curva Grande, we're side by side. The inside line's the shorter run, but around the outside gives you the braking zone on the inside at the next corner. Go in line, being relatively generous with the curbs at this point. Coates wide out into the gravel, loses momentum, and then Stalker, Peak, and Collins just sit in behind him. Could we get a top 4 breakaway?
Good question. Have to wonder, especially with the pace that these guys are evidently carrying out the front. Michael Coates has quite a bit of pressure on him here to keep the pace up and keep himself in that slipstream range. At top speed around a circuit like this, it usually kicks in when you're about 1 to 1.5 seconds back from the car in front. So he's still within that margin at the moment, and a great run through Ascari brings him right back into it.
An absolute symphony of just MX-5 screaming down the straights. There's Rasaukas ahead of Hayes. They're still going to get this slipstream in that top 11. Hawken and Fox did cost each other just a little bit of time at the beginning of this lap. So Odyssey Adams gets a tiny bit closer to the leading group. That's got to be their goal, is almost work together, perhaps bump draft side by side for the race lead. A buffet of slipstream for Eugenio Polici as well. As Lincoln Fox will go into the lead of the race ahead of Brandon Hawken and the teammates of Polici and Moffat, who are all just a little more aligned behind that. A 2:14.1 completed by Lincoln Fox, a 2:13.5 from Adams. So he is going flat out there to try to bring the band back together.
We'll be using a little more fuel though, and that might not pay too many dividends when the pit cycle comes around. Speaking of, we are almost through the first 15 minutes of this race, which is usually where everyone holds off on the way into the pits. That's Sean Hayes, who's around in the background at the second chicane. I haven't seen a car stopped there before. It's going to be an interesting incident to dissect.
So on the way in, he's wide, slides, 360.
Yeah, more of a 270, I guess, at that point. It's a shame to see, but Monza can bite. It is it's not the most difficult circuit in the world, but you still need to mind your P's and Q's around here, otherwise you're going to end up in the gravel trap of your own volition. Lincoln Fox then through to the lead as Brandon Hawken and Eugenio Pollicci give chase. And I'm really impressed to see that the top 10 are still very much together. Adams, Murgatroyd, and Martin further off in the background, doing good work to keep themselves in line here as Hawken up the inside of Fox on the exit of Parabolica. It's going to be another change for the lead. They seem to be doing the old leapfrog. You lead for a lap, I lead for a lap.
Yeah, they actually were bump drafting. So Hawken was pushing Fox, but Fox has just been slipstreaming and fuel saving. Now we've got 3 wide. Mitchell Peak's looking to the inside of Stalker. Oh, and has to take evasive action, almost parks on the apex of turn 1. What's going on for this leading group here as Hawken and Fox have traded that lead once or twice. I think they're slowing up the pack a little bit. They're going to be side by side through Curva Grande because this after you, no after you is getting out of hand.
Yeah, it's a bit like F1 qualifying in 2019, but these guys are actually racing for position. That's a late move there from Jason Stalker, and, well, he gets hip and shouldered out of the way there by Donnie Moffat. It was unlikely the move was going to be made anyway, and this is really going to break up this pack because now Michael Coates is stuck behind Stalker and Jared Collins now, all trying their best to recover. And now Adams, Murgatroyd, and Todd Martin are right with this pack. Unfortunately, it has resulted in a breakaway for the top 3. Then Donnie Moffat and Mitchell Peak in 4th and 5th. And then everyone else in the top 13.
So for Fox, Hawken, and Pollicci, do they go for it now? Do they try to extend this breakaway if they can? But 2 wide going into Ascari as around the outside. Didn't think it was going to work for Odyssey Adams versus Peter Resorkis, who's now offline. Jared Collins runs wide on the exit there, so he's lost all of his momentum, and they're swarming around him. Michael Coates gets boxed in. He's got nowhere to go as Jason Stalker looks for the inside of the Parabolica. Suddenly, Mike Oswald's part of this game as well. Top 5 together. So Moffat and Peak have caught Fox, Hawken, and Pollicci, who are almost 3 wide coming out of the Parabolica. Brandon Hawken's in the lead of the race. Pollici's looking for it now, though. Lincoln Fox in 3rd place as Eugenio Pollicci leads us down towards turn 1.
Yeah, as we said at the top of the show, his home race, and he is going to be
in the next group.
Oh my God! Okay, let's take a look at that. It's Collins, Stalker, and Coates, and well, Coates backs out of it quite wisely, and Jason Stalker will move ahead of Collins in response. But this could be frustrating for Coates. He was so close to being a part of that front pack, but the little exchange we saw over the previous lap has put him back in 8th, and it would appear he has about 4 seconds to make up if he wants to rejoin that top 5 pack. There's no way he's going to do it here in the short term.
Group number 2 exits the 2nd chicane and into the Lesmos. Jared Collins has a slowdown. I suspect he's cut too much of the curb through that 2nd chicane. He sits 2nd in this pack, so we might have to pull out of line and let a couple of cars go on the way down to Ascari. Boom, exactly what he's going to do. But that will be a little bit painful for him. And it's so difficult to spot exactly where the track limits are when you're right up behind another driver as well. Being so precise with your car placement becomes far more difficult.
Yeah, these cars are quite small, but if you have one filling the front of your vision, then you're going to have issues, same as any other machine on iRacing. Oh dear, that's Murgatroyd around, and it looks like Todd Martin got involved in that too. Oh my God. And Murgatroyd back across the circuit. That was almost disastrous. And there's Martin. That's where he ended up. Exit of Ascari with barely any bodywork left on his car there. Murgatroyd collected the speed bump, and there was nowhere for Todd Martin to go.
Ray Gun, is that you? My goodness. Yeah, Todd Martin just collected on the inside as the car spun there, and then he gets pincer movement between the spinning Paul Murgatroyd and the barrier on the inside there. That is two competitive open class drivers with massive damage. The lead of the race, there's 5 drivers. Eugenio Pollicci still leading from Brandon Hawken, Lincoln Fox, Mitchell Peak, and Johnny Moffat. And some gaps forming back here amongst all of those incidents, like slowdowns for Jared Collins, damage for Murgatroyd and Martin. Michael Coates is up in 6th from Michael Oswald in 7th. Jason Stalker is the open class leader in 8th place, but Peter Resorkis is right on his tail now, trying to fend off Jared Collins and Odyssey Adams though.
Yeah, good battle going on here at the moment. I'm seeing more and more cars with bodywork slightly askew with the bump drafting that's been going on and the minor bits of contact we've seen coming into these chicanes could have a slightly detrimental effect on straight line speed. Another reason why you don't want to be the one out in front leading a pack. Well, Michael Coates has made his way back up to 6th, and it would appear that he's still sort of within striking distance of the top 5, but a bit too far ahead at the moment to make any meaningful difference to goings on at the front of this field. Stalker and Rousakis then will keep their eyes peeled for yet more to come as Stalker lines up a potential move on Mike Oswald into Parabolica. Back to the front ever so briefly. Pollicci and Moffat, the teammates bookending the top 5 until that move by Brandon Hawken. Pollicci, I think, running a bit wide, and potentially that was a calculated move, but maybe it's not going to work out for him. Fox is going to get past as well. Mitchell Peak may have a go of things too. Get back into the slipstream of the leader then. Pollicci's going to move back to 4th.
I got my cynical hat on today because that felt pretty tactical from Pollicci to drop back towards where Donnie Moffat was. I'm pretty sure Lincoln Fox did the same thing, which sort of deliberately ran wide through the final corner. If you're the driver behind, you kind of just got to take the inside line and take the position. So what are you going to do? Like, go full 2019 Monza qualifying and also run wide in sympathy and just everyone parks out there? Like, eventually something's got to give and someone's got to move.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Pollicci dropping a spot or two. Mike Oswald moving to the front of this group.
Michael Coates, our championship leader, meanwhile, made a mistake out of Parabolica coming up to the line. He ran as wide as I've ever seen anyone run wide. Actually ended up catching the gravel on the way out of the final corner, and now he's moved back into 10th place.
Have you seen Alex Peroni run wide at that corner?
Yeah, I believe he spent some time in the air as well. Thankfully, no sausage curb on the exit of Parabolica here in the sim.
Crazy that was ever a thing.
Yeah. Bit ridiculous. I'm not a fan of sausage curbs, and I don't think anyone really is, but if you're going to put them anywhere, put them on the apex of a corner, not on the exit.
Yeah, sausages should be at Bunnings, not exit curbs. Brandon Hawkins moving about here, weaving the train. He's almost got a second on Lincoln Fox, but that will close up. Eugenio Pollicci in 3rd there from Mitchell Peak, who started 11th. He's now, through good placement and good fortune, hang on, that's a bit wide. Now up into 4th. Johnny Moffat's in 5th. Big gap forming because they have picked up the pace here, down into the 2:13s for our race leaders. They were doing sort of 2:15s for a bit, and we got some of our first takers on pit lane. Coates, Collins, Martin, Fike.
Yeah, and Michael Coates was very late on the brakes into the pits. He almost made the pass on Jared Collins, but now lifts out on the way into the box. And we'll see what this first roster of pit stops ends up looking like.
Collins overshot.
Yeah, only by a little bit. And it looks like left side tyres for everybody, which is right on par with what I expected. This track is, of course, majority right-hand corners, which means the left side tyres are worked harder. Coates is out of the box, so is Fike and Martin, but Jared Collins falls to the very back of the pack, having to reverse back into his pit stall.
Hang on, there's some longish stops there.
Yeah, 23 seconds for Collins, and compare that to 18 and a half for Geordie Fike, about 20 seconds for Michael Coates.
So after the fuel saving of the early parts, these top 5 have increased their pace towards the 2:13s. Brandon Hawkins leading. You can see the evidence on his nose that he was bump drafting Lincoln Fox earlier. Lincoln Fox did not return the favour and has no damage on the nose, but perhaps just a tiny dent on the rear bumper.
Small battle scars that you'll undoubtedly see in any race in MX-5s at a high-speed track like this. So now the front of the field has to decide if they're going to respond to that roster of pit stops that we saw on the previous lap, and it looks like Lincoln Fox is going to go for it. Polici, Moffat, a peak! Oh my god, contact on the way into pit lane! How on earth did that work out? Oh no! The teammates unfortunately splayed across the front of pit lane. That is disastrous for Polici and Moffat.
Yeah, how have they managed that? One more look here. So going to pit entry.
Oh no.
So Moffat, he's overshot it, and then he's hit his teammate.
Oh dear. I don't know what words I can use to describe that.
When you're racing at the limit, lots of mistakes happen. Except I want to tell you that I was watching yesterday's practice race where Donnie Moffat sped on the pit entry and hit someone. And 24 hours later, I don't think he's learned.
Yeah, well, I mean, I mentioned it at the top of the show, didn't I? Pit entry and how important it is to get right around here. You're braking from such a high speed. You have to pick your braking point. You need to know where your rivals are going to be braking as well. And unfortunately, that has put Polici and Moffat back with the first pack that pitted. Michael Coates leading it. And it looks like they might be just outside the top 10 from that incident.
The cones haven't moved since yesterday, and the pit lane speed limit hasn't changed either. It's Canadians in first and second place right now, with Brandon Hawkins leading pro class, Jason Stalker leading the open class. Just a couple of drivers that haven't pitted that we are very much expecting in sooner rather than later. There's Mike Oswalt and Stalker, Resorkis and Adams. Hawkins stays out. So he goes, I've got clean air. Now's the time to show the pace I've got, which is apparently a 2:13.8. Here comes Oswalt and Stalker. Resorkis stayed out. How's the pit lane speed for Oswalt? It is a big stop, arresting the speed coming into pit entry here. I think they're good.
So pit stops, the quickest pit stop so far is 17.5 seconds from Lincoln Fox. Let's see what these guys can do to match that. Tyres going on for Mike Oswalt. Evidently Jason Stalker deciding tyres are not the way to go here. See if that brings him any benefit in the pit cycle. It's a better run out of the pit stall there for Mike Oswalt. They're going to be side by side on the exit of pit lane. A drag race all the way to turn one. Not quite. Going to let Mike Oswalt go there just in time for Coates, Polici, Moffat and Fike to arrive on the scene.
So that will be an interesting group now just forming up post the pit stops there. We have now just 6 or 7 drivers that need to stop. Your top 6 plus Sean Hayes. It's Mike Oswald and Jason Stalker trying to get back up to speed. It's Coates, Polici, Moffat and Fike are just behind them. Overcast clouds coming and going, so the track temp has been cool and remains cool all race.
Yes, it being November in Europe in sim time. In sim date is November the 6th at about nearly 1:30 in the afternoon. The track is a mere 21 Celsius. So we're going to be seeing some nice handling from these cars in these conditions. They tend to like it when the track is cooler. In comes Brandon Hawken to the pit lane. And looking at the entries tab, it would appear no black flag to his name. So some good lap times with no slipstream. Let's see if this works out for him as he's joined in the pits by Peter Rusokis, Kyle Genski and Mark Kruger.
Look how far Hawken overshot his pit box there.
Oh, yeah.
He just had to reverse, I'm pretty sure. Now, he was very aggressive on the pit entry. He was doing 81.5 kilometers an hour down the pit lane, enough that he doesn't get penalized, but enough that he also gains a little bit of time. But then he's overshot his pit box. We're about to get his lane transit time as 40.9 seconds compared to Lincoln Fox's 39.5, I think. And here comes Fox at speed with Mitchell Peak. And are they going to be a second ahead of Brandon Hawken? No. So I think no damage done for Brandon.
Yeah, if anything, I think this has worked out to Brandon Hawken's benefit because now he's got the slipstream of both of them ahead. He can get up to speed pretty quickly and just stick with them until the end. Looks like a bit of a coming together at the first chicane in the background.
Yeah, Polici and Coates have both got slowdown penalties. Polici and Coates have both completely missed the first chicane, so they've come together in the braking zone. And that looks like Coates has got a bit of the rear bumper of Polici and sent him sideways. Let's take another look. It's all complex here with Rusokis to the inside line exiting the pit lane.
Just a bit later on the brakes for Michael Coates, and there was really nothing Polici could do to avoid that. It's one thing when you can take avoiding action for something happening in front of you, but if the guy behind you runs into the back of you in the middle of a braking zone, what do you do?
Coates takes the secret alternative first chicane layout. He'd rather he wouldn't have. This is going to be for the race lead here. So Lincoln Fox, Brandon Hawken's gotten into the middle of the sandwich. And Mitchell Peak goes back to what will be net third, but he should still be pretty pleased with this. Now, if Fox and Hawken have got the fuel to push on pretty hard in this second stint, it could be very interesting viewing. Brandon Hawken is going for the lead of the race. Odyssey Adams, our last driver who needed to pit, is in the lane right now. So this group will go by him. Brandon Hawken might well end up back in the lead of the race.
Indeed, he has. And out of the Parabolica, they'll come again. As with 15.5 minutes on the clock, my timing's telling me 6 laps to go for our leaders. Adams has jumped into the pits, and so that's going to be the entire field having completed their effective mandatory pit stop. And Adams has come out pretty well, all things considered, up 8 positions from where he started. He's going to come out in 4th, and he's going to be right with that battle for the top 5, actually a little bit ahead. They'll probably catch him pretty quickly, all things considered, as Fike and Stalker trade spots on the way into the first chicane. And it looks like Donnie Moffat's going to try and go for it as well. Not quite.
Yeah, it looked like Stalker almost trying to break the slipstream back there down the front straight in that group. So 2 very interesting packs, 3 cars for the lead of the race, where Brandon Hawken has cycled from 3rd to up front to back into 3rd. And the next group, it's got Jason Stalker. Junior Polici moves ahead of Donnie Moffat. Mike Oswalt, Peter Resorkis and Lee Martin for second and third in open class. There, Jared Collins and Michael Coates, quick drivers who lost time through various different things, down in 12th and 13th, could catch this group if they begin to block each other, battle side by side through any of the corners. A tenth of a second covered the top three for a brief moment there as we trade some spots. Hawken from first to third to first to third to perhaps back to first now ahead of Lincoln Fox and Mitchell Peak. Jason Stalker's bumping Geordie Fike, so they want to catch Odyssey Adams.
Yep, they stand a chance of gaining one mere position. They'll certainly take it, especially if it's for fourth. So Adams all on his own there, no one to help him. Poking the nose out is Polici. Moffat's going to try and follow him here. Yes, the teammates did make contact on the way into the pit lane, but it would appear that they are trying their best to recover from that. All the way to the inside for Moffat. It doesn't quite work out on the exit. Mike Oswalt's going to be right with him there. And now Jason Stalker sees the opportunity to do a bit of bump drafting himself on Fike and Polici. I'd be interested to see what their top speed is like here. They just reached 200 k's an hour on the way into the braking zone for turn 1. 202 is the top speed for Eugenio Polici, who's going to go right across the front there, and Stalker very wide. He tried to make the move on Geordie Fike, but that first chicane is incredibly difficult to go side by side through. It's enough work to hit the apexes with how tight the chicane is, but you throw another car into the mix and you've got problems.
And there's an increasing amount of gravel and dirt offline there as well from some of the excursions that we've seen. So once you are very offline, it's super slippery. Okay, that's a look down the inside, no doubt, from Donnie Moffat as he muscles past Geordie Fike and Jason Stalker and goes ahead. Lee Martin, I don't see a slowdown penalty for, but it almost looks like he's serving one as he drops behind Jared Collins. Puts a car between himself and Peter Resorkis for second in open as well. Resorkis just behind Mike Oswalt, who's got a tiny bit of damage on the nose, but who doesn't at this point of the race?
Yeah, it looks to me like Martin just checked up for all that battling in front of him and lost some momentum coming out of the corner, evidently just allowing Jared Collins to go by. So all much of a muchness in the end. The top three, a long way ahead, and there's Odyssey Adams and Eugenio Polici in the background, followed by just about everyone else. That's a car off there at Ascari in the background, and it looks like managing to stay pointed in the right direction.
So Eugenio Polici's hunting down Odyssey Adams. Donnie Moffat's still got a train right on his rear bumper there of Geordie Fike, Jason Stalker, Mike Oswalt, Peter Resorkis. There's a couple of drivers that have ended up in lonely no man's land. Mark Kruger is sort of 5 seconds behind this pack. Carl Genski might be catching him though. Ryan Pendicio in 16th. Charles Vaccaro 17th, Sean Hayes in 18th, and then some other drivers that had to tow at other points like Martin and Murgatroyd, and Jake DeGrand made 2 pit stops, and Rui Coimbra, I think, that joined this race late. Oh, and that's late on the brakes and late into turn 1.
Oh, look at that! Round the outside for Donnie Moffat. That was an impressive move. Jason Stalker was defensive on the way into the first corner, but he ran deep and the room was open to the outside for Moffat to potentially get through.
Now the group checks up into the next chicane. Geordie Fike gets a little defensive and Stalker's off.
Yeah, that he is. Looks like a similar incident to what we saw earlier for Sean Hayes on the brakes for the chicane and carrying the brakes a bit too far in. The rears locking up ever so slightly and a spin or a half spin. Fortunately, Stalker was able to arrest it before it became a full 180 spin, but Now he's all the way back to 13th after looking at a potential 8th.
Peter Resorkis now leads open class as well, and he's side by side with Jared Collins, who's going to try to sneak ahead going into the Ascari chicane. The quickest car on the track last lap was Eugenio Pellicci catching Odyssey Adams. The top three have been playing a little bit of fuel games. Pellicci has been going flat chat. He's caught Adams, but they are 12 seconds behind the leaders with 4 laps to go.
Yeah, so it's I mean, I'm no expert, but I think 12 seconds and 4 laps, 3 seconds a lap is a bit difficult to gain here at Monza, even if you have a slipstream and someone to draft with. There goes Pellicci past Adams, and I think at this point they'll have to settle for fighting for 4th unless there's a coming together between our lead group. But the racing has been so clean at the very front of the field that I doubt that's going to happen.
My feeling is that Hawken and Fox are sort of waiting for the final lap to have this unfold, and then Mitchell Peak should be very happy with 8 positions gained over the race, and that as it's all shaken out and a leading group of 11 became 6, became 5, became 3, that he is sort of one of the last contestants on Survivor Island. I'm an MX-5 driver, get me out of here.
Yeah, I think if I was part of the group from 16th to 21st who are all by themselves, I'd be saying that. It's no fun being all alone on track at Monza with no one to slipstream with. You're basically just hoping that something happens ahead of you.
No one wants to be alone on Christmas.
No,
so that's your top
not.
3. The next group, Eugenio Pellicci is now pulling Adams along. Moffat's gotten to the front of that next group and pedaling as fast as he can. He's still bringing them along with him. Resorkis, as open class leader, has just gotten ahead of Geordie Fike, who's dropping back, and that's Coates through the gravel.
Oof. Yeah, Michael Coates has had a bit of a rough go of things, hasn't he?
Yeah, so I think on the way into Ascari, some time's been lost from those two, and they've been offline, and you see Resorkis in a little bit of empty space between Moffat, Oswalt and Collins, and then whatever happened for Fike and Coates, who are still ahead of Lee Martin and Jason Stalker, 2nd and 3rd in open class. Crossing the start-finish line, 3 laps to go. Now, this is a point where you go sort of fast and furious mode, and you can look out your side window at the other person that you're drag racing. Jared Collins has moved up a couple of spots in the last few laps, but he's not going to get one going that deep into turn 1 alongside Donnie Moffat, who'll hold lead of this group. Fike got some contact.
Well, we did, and that is no momentum out of Rettifilo. That's going to be that for him. I think he might be stuck on his own now. Looks like contact. No contact.
No.
Got into the gravel.
Was very, very close to some contact, but yeah, he ran over the apex curb, slid wide into the gravel, lost the traction on the rear tyre, and just had to save a lurid slide, as they say. There's Michael Coates, chief gravel distributor, back at work. Get that man a tipper truck. You know, the Isuzu N series is badged as the Mazda Elf in Japan, so he can get one of those.
Indeed he can. Well, Coates and Stalker will have to start working together here to catch back up to the front pack. I've seen Pellicci and Adams try to do the same thing, but their lap times haven't quite worked out. Jared Collins, meanwhile, got the inside of Donnie Moffat for 6th place, and on the previous lap, Collins got the fastest lap of the race, first driver into the 2-minute 12-second bracket, so looking rather pacey at this point in the race, but maybe too little too late. Eugenio Pollici and Odyssey Adams are just too far ahead at this point. All they can do is try and get as close as they can.
Now to the inside of Curva Michele Alboreto. Donnie Moffat will go to then start 2 laps to go. Mitchell Peak's gotten ahead of Lincoln Fox. Oh, the 3 of them are 3 wide. How about that? As Lincoln Fox shoots to the lead of the race, Brandon Hawken alongside Peak. There's door banging between Collins and Moffat, which might be the reason that my co-commentator's short of breath.
No, I saw Lincoln Fox running deep at turn 1. I thought shooting to the lead, more like shooting off the track, but Fox managed to keep it together. Pass by Donnie Moffat keeps Jared Collins behind. Now Oswald, Rousakis, Stalker and Coates you can throw in as well. The leaders are 3 wide again on the way into the De La Roggia chicane. Lincoln Fox will move back to 3rd. And Mitchell Peak now staring at the back of Brandon Hawken, who it seems has deployed some pretty good tactics here, almost at the death knell of this race.
This is going to be another one of those 45-minute Spec-5 World Tour races that you could make a 1-hour highlights package out of, because while the 3-way tussle for the race lead goes on, Eugenio Pollici in close quarters with Odyssey Adams, and whatever's happening in this group, Peter Rousakis is in the middle of it. Jared Collins and Donnie Moffat, 2 hardheads there, I think, want the lead of this group and want 6th place. Lee Martin's dropped back a little bit as 2nd in open class. Sorry, 3rd in open class, because Rousakis and Stalker are alongside for the lead of open class towards Ascari. Yes, they are. Rousakis on the inside, breaks first. Stalker tries to sweep around the outside. Nasty sausage curbs right there. A tough right at the point of the change of direction, and they both lose a lot of time. And we're about to get the white flag for the leaders as well. Brandon Hawken, 8/10 clear. What does Lincoln Fox do? Do you got a bump here?
Oh, he's not going to go for it. He's going to try and snatch a bit of the... Whoa, 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 careful! Oh, okay, that might have just done it for Brandon Hawken. That slight contact between Mitchell Peak and Lincoln Fox. Fox taking a little trip through the grass. I mean, I think the gap might be a bit too big at this point. I was hoping that they would bump draft, but they decided not to. Rubbing wheels across the line. Side by side between Adams and Pollici as well for 4th place. We'll see who is the best here out of turn 1. Meanwhile, Pollici's teammate Donnie Moffat keeping Jared Collins to the outside in the first chicane. Michael Coates trying to work his way past Rousakis. There is just enough room for him to get the exit out of the first chicane. He'll move back up into 9th.
You can tell that Mike Oswald got the bumper out to try to pick his favourite in the draft race down towards turn 1, and he picked Donnie Moffat in that case. Lincoln Fox might be out of fuel, out of chances here, dropping back and quickly from our 2 leaders. Mitchell Peak still within slipstream range of Brandon Hawken, and the pace will pick up here. Jake DeGrand looks like he's going to go a lap down, and he's like, please don't make me part of this. But Brandon Hawken wants all the slipstream he can get. Jared Collins has a slowdown penalty at the lead of that next group again. Make it an 1.5 hour highlights package. They're all off the road. Mike Oswald gets turned around by Michael Coates.
Oh no, championship leader involved in a big incident on the final lap. And that's going to be far from ideal for Coates and Oswald as well. A quick replay of what went on here coming out of Lesmo 1. Oh, into the gravel, and it looks like some avoiding action was taken, and Michael Coates didn't have time to react to what was going on ahead.
The race lead is on here for Mitchell Peak. He's got that slipstream down the penultimate straight. Is there enough time between the exit of Parabolica and the timing line to make another Monza photo finish between the Canadians, Hawken and Peak? But I think Hawken's just got the pace through the turns that when they get to the line, he'll win at Monza by a couple of tenths from Mitchell Peak. Lincoln Fox gonna get 3rd still. And what about Pollici? Does he have the fuel alongside Adams? That's a photo finish that Pollici just manages to win.
only just. Thank goodness the actual timing line is that first line they get to, rather than this line coming up here, the start line. Goodness me, what a race. It had...
Stalker gets the open class from Resorkis. Jared Collins ends up crossing the line in 9th from Lee Martin in 10th.
Indeed, good stuff there, and it looks like a puff of smoke there from Michael Coates. Maybe the engine blew. Ultimately, for Coates, it's 15th place after starting in 4th. That's far from the best result he could have gotten out of this round, and with the championship lead on the line, he needs to get every good finish he can get. I think he might be hoping for a miracle coming up next week at the Bend.
Well, Todd Martin led open class coming into this round, and he's going to finish 18th, just ahead of Paul Murgatroyd. We did not have Michael Folds today, but Lincoln Fox took 3rd. So the championship in both classes, I think, is wide open coming to 90 minutes at the Bend next week. And let's make it a 2-hour highlights package. It's a 45-minute race. That last lap in every pack was wild. Brandon Hawken wins from Mitchell Peak. Lincoln Fox just might not have had the go right at the end there. Eugenio Polici works his way back to 4th place after being drilled by his teammate in pit lane. Odyssey Adams had a very good strategy and some good clean air pace. 5th place, not bad at all from the driver who started 12th. Donnie Moffat in 6th, ahead of Jason Stalker, who wins open class narrowly from Peter Resorkis. Jared Collins in 9th, and Lee Martin giving us 3 open class drivers inside of the top 10. Geordie Fike in 11th, Kyle Genske in 12th, Mark Kruger in 13th, Oswald in 14th. These were some of the drivers who found themselves in a little bit of their quiet no man's land in the back half of the race. Michael Coates in 15th, Ryan Pendicio in 16th. Might have started from the pit lane. Sean Hayes, 17th. Todd Martin, 18th from Murgatroyd. We saw Rui Coimbra, 20th place. Charles Vaccaro, 1 lap down in 21st. Jake DeGrand, we also saw going the lap down. It seems like he may have made 3 pit stops and finished 22nd. Tom Athon, 5 laps down, so that seems like still a classified finisher, but not on track in the final 13 minutes. And we didn't get David Stubb, Nicholas Shepherd, or Glenn Blanchard in today's race at Monza.
Boy, oh boy. Well, that was an explosive round in multiple ways. And as far as penultimate rounds of a season go, I don't think you could ask for much more. Quite the interesting run that we had there. We do have drivers waiting to come in. So, David, I'll leave it open to you who to chat to first.
Let's get from open class our winner, Jason Stalker. Last 15 minutes, how would you describe your heart rate?
My hands were shaking a lot, like so much. Once I thought I lost that second group, and I managed to kind of just catch one after another, and then those last couple laps were very intense, especially in that, I think it was the last lap. Those 3 cars got into it, and I was just hoping I could get through there. So it was good racing.
Yeah, so a great open class fight. What's your mindset on in the middle of these races? Are you just treating every car the same, every position the same, or are you keeping tabs on where, Resorkis is, where Martin is, where your teammates are?
This race, I think the championship might be a bit out of reach for me, myself, but I just kind of doing the race per race. So, I'm just having fun racing against whoever's near me. I had a long race with Michael Coates there for a while, and So when I did notice where Resorkis was, during the race, but I wasn't really focused on trying to finish ahead of him or not. So.
Well, it's a great finish in class. It's a great finish overall. What was your strategy here, pitting basically middle of the race, but everyone from the drop of the green flag was thinking fuel strategy, slipstream, save, etc.?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was doing some practice beforehand, just trying to figure out what it was like to run in the front or in the draft. There's a pretty big difference there. So I wasn't prepared for that extra parade lap at the beginning, but like I was, and when I was taking it to pit, I was like at the front of the group, so I didn't know. If you pit and you don't have anybody with you, you're kind of toast, right? So, fortunately, I was able to pit with I think it was Mike Oswald. He just got ahead of me, and we both pitted like side by side. So it was good to have some drafting on this track for sure.
Awesome to see you be part of a gigantic Monza-style battle pack, the excitement that we expect when we see Monza written on the calendar. This is the kind of racing we were thinking. Stressful, but unpredictable, and you can't take your eyes away from it. A whole bunch of teammates for you in the season. Tell us about the team.
Yeah, my friend Paul, we've been racing for years together, and then Rob Conahan, he wasn't here tonight. He lives down in California. He's often away. So, and Todd Martin, we know him kind of locally. So, it's fun. It is, it's nice to get together once a week, and like even during practice, Paul and I were just trying to kind of pair up and get some drafting going, because a track like this, you're seconds off the pace without a draft. So yeah, there's good times.
Awesome. Hopefully the good times roll on into the season finale next week.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that next race, I know that unfortunately Paul's not going to be able to make it. There's things in life that get in the way, but it's also being a double points, double length race. It's a tough one to commit to, especially with the track that is kind of new to the schedule recently. So it's going to take a lot of practice, and I know the track it's a super long track. So you might be a bit familiar with it down in Australia. So.
I'm more familiar with it than the rest of the world, it seems. We'll wish you the best, and thanks for stopping by.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Reese, we've got our race winner.
We have indeed Brandon Hawken with us now, and quite the fight up the front of the field, Brandon. Overshooting the pit stall at the pit stop wasn't ideal, but ultimately it put you on course to stay in the slipstream. And once Mitchell and Lincoln came together, it was home free for you on the last lap.
Yeah, that was I was trying to do something to try and break the draft, and I was like, you know what, if they're coming in right now, I'm just gonna stay out and see if I can somehow get a little bit of a gap. And I think I ended up using a little bit more fuel maybe on that first run, but I ended up coming out just behind Lincoln and Mitchell, and I think there was a crash coming into the pits, I think. So I was surprised to see only two of them when I came out of the pits, but that kind of meant we could battle it out for the rest of the run. And that was a really great battle with Mitchell and Lincoln in the second half of the race. I was doing all I could to just try and get a gap, but they were hanging right on. And I had a great battle there the last few laps. Had a couple 3-wide moments there, and both of them did a fantastic job keeping everything clean. And I had a lot of fun. I was doing all I could. I was driving my heart out there in the last, especially the last second half of the race. And Mitchell got a massive run there coming towards the final corner, and I was thinking I had a good enough gap until came out of the that chicane, and he had a huge run coming, and I was just hoping I could get a good run off the final corner and hold on to it. But man, that was a lot of fun. So hats off to both of those guys, and all the top 7 or 8 or so. Unfortunate about the incident on the pit road there, but man, had a lot of fun racing all these guys.
Yeah, it was great fun indeed from up here in the comms box as well. If you like long straights and slipstreaming, you're going to get one of those at the Bend next week for the 90-minute enduro to end off the season. Is that a track you're familiar with? And if not, are you looking forward to learning it?
I just got familiar with it a little while ago. The international layout. I've never driven the full layout, but the international layout I got down pretty well, I think. It's gonna be. I've driven the supercars there, so it's gonna be a little bit different driving the MX-5. It's a really great track. Lots of nice winding corners and a couple hard braking zones and some 90s, and it's got a bit of everything. So it's a fantastic track. I think. It'll be a really fun race to watch with these things. Just nonstop cornering, and then you got that one really long straightaway to finish the lap. So it's gonna be it's gonna be a lot of fun. And of course, it's a newer track on iRacing. So I hope everybody hope we get lots of people to show up and have a lot of fun, because the Bend is it's a fantastic track.
Yeah, David and I are certainly in agreement, and it's not just because we're Australian. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Brandon. Congratulations on the victory. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one, and we'll see you next week.
All right, that was Brandon Hawken there. And David, I understand that Mitchell Peak is also here for a chat as well, finishing P2 from 11th. A great run through the field.
Sure, why not? Hello, Mitchell.
Hello, boys. It's been a while.
Well, you get to play with the big boys there.
Yeah, it's about time. I had one good run earlier this year where I was up near the front, and then I had a terrible pit strategy when we were at Mossport, and that threw me back. But I guess there was another one too at Phillip Island. I was up near the front, but it's few and far between these days to be able to race up at the front. So always a good time when I get to play with the big boys.
The second place finish might even get you back into the championship top 10.
Well, we had a little laugh about that earlier today, just before the race, and I was kind of asking for a favor to see my name on the graphic for the top 11. But I think with second place, it should bump me back into the top 10 going into the finale. So that's pretty much the end goal for the season. Hasn't been the season that I wanted it to be this year, but top 10 finish overall would be pretty good.
What are you looking forward to at that finale then?
Another chance to race up at the front, show my racecraft a little bit would be really good. But I've never raced that track before, so I've got a little bit of work to go into that race. But yeah, just keep it clean, and it's a longer race, more strategy involved, and if you keep your nose clean and you stay out of the wrecks, hang on to that draft and see what happens in the end.
Congrats, and looking forward to 90 minutes of the Bend and what you can do there.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Nice chatting with you.
Oh, Mitchell Peak's very, very proud of himself, as maybe he should be. He gained quite a lot of positions across the race today, from 11th on the grid. A couple of stories like that of drivers picking up some spots by working forward in the pack, keeping their nose clean, avoiding a few of the wrecks that we saw happen throughout the field race.
Yeah, it was quite the active race, and a few drivers who'll certainly be looking to put this race behind them and move swiftly on to the Bend next week. Once again, the final round of this 18th season of Spec-5 World Tour, and we bring it to a conclusion in Australia at one of the best new circuits to be added to iRacing. I'm looking forward to seeing if Michael Coates can bounce back and grab that championship, or if we have one of his challengers come to the fore and secure the title.
So next week, the championship will be decided at the Bend. Come join us on HJBC for 40-kilometre-an-hour pit lane speed limits and 90 minutes of racing. We'll spend quite a few of those 90 minutes in the pit lane now I think about it. It's been a great race here from Monza, and Brandon Hawkins managed to convert the pole position to a win. Jason Stalker takes the open class, and we look forward to next week at the Bend. We'll see you then.